There's been a lot of back and forth on whether or not the Toronto Blue Jays should make more additions this offseason. GM Ross Atkins has hinted at some possible moves to come, so we'll break that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. A lot to get into today. First, I want to thank you all for the support we've been getting. It's been unreal. All the comments, all the likes, all the subscribers. It's been unreal, and we're on the road to 5K by Christmas time, and I hope we can get there.
Me too, and I love the comments. Keep leaving your feedback down below and all your discussions. We love having chats with you guys, and hopefully we can hit 5K by the end of December. And yeah, sport's been unbelievable. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoy daily content. But Peter, we have a lot to get into today. And Ross Atkins finally spoke out after the flurry of moves he made. This is the first thing he had to say. So he said the bat's now a focus for the Blue Jays. GM Ross Atkins tells Toronto media Jays will likely shift to offensive improvement after adding Bassett and Kiermaier. Ideally a left-handed hitter, most likely an outfielder, could come via free agency, and we're not limited financially or trade. So what are your thoughts on that before we get into the other screenshots? And I have a lot. But what are your thoughts on that there, and specifically no limit financially?
Well, we've heard that, and we've been hearing that for a couple months now, whether it be by Ross Atkins or Mark Shapiro, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop them. I mean, they're already over the tax threshold, so you might as well go all in here and try to ride it out with this core that you have. Try to add whatever pieces you need to make a World Series run, and I think they're close. They just need a bat-first lefty, like Ross Atkins said there. And I'm really happy with the defense that they've assembled, with all the athleticism that they have at each position. And I'm excited for the season. It's just a couple pieces away, and I think we're right there, Nick.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's important that Ross Atkins says this stuff, even if, you guys out there might think that, it's redundant or whatever. It's important that he does say it, so at least, especially the financial things. So he also goes to say, as for the possibility of trading a young catcher, Ross Atkins says the market for the catching is exceptionally strong, meaning the Blue Jays will have options of deals if they so choose. Yet Atkins said they are 100% comfortable keeping all three, remaining in that position of strength. And I know you've been on the record saying you don't want that to happen. And another screenshot here is saying they're open-minded and further adding pitching. We'll continue to talk about ways to improve the rotation and also high-impact bullpen arms. And Scott Mitchell also says they're not focused on some offensive production as well. So you're kind of, it seems like he says we're open to adding everything. The high-impact arms thing is very interesting. He also went on to say he's very confident in their bullpen, top bullpen in baseball along rotation. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? He said a lot today, and it seems like we're willing to continue to add, and that's a good thing because he could have just said that we were happy with our additions, but he went further than that.
I am very confident in the team that we have right now. I know it might be a hot take, but I think we're better than we were at this time last year. And that's not a knock on anybody that's been dealt away or anybody that's left the team. I just think I think we're better. I think we're better right now. Whether it be in the outfield, defensively, speed-wise, I just think they're a much more well-rounded team right now than they were last year. And they should be making moves. When it comes to the catchers, I get what he's saying. He wants to remain in a position of strength because when you look at it in depth, each of those three brings something different to the table. Gabby Moreno, it's his athleticism, it's his ability to be like kind of a unicorn back there. He's got a cannon of an arm. Danny Jansen calls the best game out of the three. And Alejandro Kirk, I mean, the guy's just a pure hitter. He's going to be a 300 hitter or 280 plus hitter for as long as he can stay healthy. So I get that he wants to stay in a position of strength there, but I still think we can get a valuable asset that'll help us much more than having three really good catchers. For in return for one of them.
Yeah, and I saw something on Twitter about this, and I'll probably screenshot one more time regarding comfortable, with all three remaining in position of strength. They were saying basically that Ross Atkins could be saying this because, to keep leverage on other teams. And he's basically saying that the offers the other teams are giving him right now are not good enough simply because they think the Blue Jays need to trade a catcher. And by Ross saying this, hopefully it'll increase the offers, which, makes a lot of sense. We don't necessarily need to trade one. Do we expect to trade one by the end of the season? Yes. And obviously we put all of our money on it. And it's seeming more and more likely like a left-handed outfielder is the move to come for one of our catchers. Jake McCarthy, we've talked about a lot. We'll also talk about another player who you may have seen in the thumbnail, David Peralta. And Peter, you kind of brought him up, which is a very interesting thing. But we do have one more screenshot here. I asked Rock Atkins about the fifth spot in the rotation. We're excited about a bounce back with Kikuchi, as well as having Mitch White on board and having some prospects that are exciting, potentially Ricky Tiedemann. So before we get into the David Peralta thing and what we thought about that, what are your thoughts on the little rotation comment he had there?
I'd still like to add a fifth starter ideally, but the amount of money that you did invest in Yusei Kikuchi, I think he has earned another chance at least to start the season. And then if you can't do it anymore, and if it's not sustainable over 162, then you go out and get another guy. But I just don't think Yusei Kikuchi is going to be as bad as he was last year. I don't know how good he'll be exactly, but the stuff's there, and he's shown flashes of being a good pitcher. He had an all-star first half in Seattle. I mean, the guy's got everything you'd want out of a left-handed pitcher. He's just got to put the control together, and if he can do that, if he can work alongside Pete Walker and figure that out, then we got ourselves a bargain at $12 million a year.
Yeah, and like we've discussed in several videos, the contract's looking better and better with by day with all these other big,
Yeah.
huge contracts coming in, and yeah, hopefully Kikuchi is able to do well. But going back to the outfielding front, David Peralta is someone that we've saw a little bit on Twitter. I saw a little bit of it, but not many people are talking about him. And he's an available option out there. And I'll pop up his Baseball Savant page if you haven't seen it. And you know, nothing crazy last year. Especially he kind of cooled down a bit once he got traded to the Rays at the trade deadline. But solid outfielder. You know, a bit of a weak arm strength, but solid reads, solid hitter. What do you like about David Peralta and why he could, you know, potentially fit? Because, you know, some other players may not you know, be open to the fourth outfielder spot, but it seems like Peralta would be a pretty good fit.
Well, the first thing that I like about him is that he's a left-handed hitter, and he's had some really good seasons at the plate. He's been kind of like a 250-ish hitter in the past couple of seasons. So I don't know if he can get back to that 280, 290 David Peralta that we've seen in the past with the Diamondbacks. But I think he's a very solid player, and you got to bring a guy here that's willing to be a fourth outfielder as well. And I think David Peralta would willingly accept that role to play on a contending team like Toronto. The other guys like Brantley, he signed now with Houston, but like Michael Conforto or anyone else for that matter, they want to reestablish their value and hit free agency again. So I don't know if they'll come to Toronto on the basis of Kevin Kiermaier being the everyday center fielder and George Springer being the everyday right fielder. So you got to look at it that way. I mean, all the noise has been about Kiermaier being your everyday guy in center. So can you really bring a guy here that's really good and platoon him? No, you can't. So David Peralta would be a good fit, and I wouldn't mind that pickup at all. Puts
Yeah,
us in a good spot.
yeah, he kind of, you know, Conforto, like you said, Profar as well is he's a bit, you
Yeah.
know, a bit lower end than Conforto, but you expect, you know, especially a player like him, you'd want him to play probably every day. So David Peralta kind of fits in the middle there in the sense of he's 35 years old. He's, you know, beginning the decline of his career. He's not the player he once was with the Diamondbacks, but he's still very productive. And, you know, a fourth outfielding spot would be phenomenal for him. I think he put up a 0.8 WAR last year, something like that. You know, nothing crazy, but also having a veteran presence in the clubhouse, like Jackie Bradley Jr.
Exactly.
last year, Kiermaier as well as another one. So maybe establishing the culture. And I have a couple other screenshots to pop up here before we wrap it up. But let us know in the comments below what your thoughts on David Peralta. We haven't heard much about him. So this is from Thomas Hall. We've used him before. He's the Jays right. He says, at this point, I'd be shocked if the Jays don't trade a catcher for an outfielder this winter. And that kind of goes on, you know, maybe a Jake McCarthy. You know, I've seen it more and more on Twitter, and I'm kind of opening up to the idea. It makes so much sense on paper. The Diamondbacks need a catcher. We need an outfielder, and Jake McCarthy could fit into that fourth outfielder spot this year. You know, learn under Kevin Kiermaier and perhaps move into center field for next year. We've, you know, talked about it a lot. But like you said, I'd be shocked if we don't. And then one final screenshot here. What's left for improvement the offseason? Ross Atkins says the most realistic outcome going forward is focusing on run creation as a next layer of improvement. That is just fancy words for we're going to add a bat, probably a left-handed bat. So what are your, I don't know, what are your thoughts on all of that before we wrap it up? And in general, I guess any thoughts you have on the Ross Atkins, you know, his press conference today?
Well, I've seen a lot of people in the comments of our videos lobbying to get a guy to learn under Kevin Kiermaier and then take over center field once he's gone next year, or if we keep him around for like one more year, you know. So you got to get a guy with control, like a Jake McCarthy, like an Alec Thomas, although I don't think that's necessarily attainable. But you want to get a guy like that that can man center field for you for the next 3, 4 years and not have to worry about that position down the line because it's premium and it costs a lot. So if you can trade one of your catchers and get your everyday center fielder for the next 4 years, then yes, you go out and do that. And run creation, I mean, everyone's trying to replace Teoscar Hernandez's production. It's not easy to do as like average as he was defensively or as much as he didn't hustle, the guy still got 30 plus home runs in a
Yeah.
season, 100 plus RBIs. Like, he's a real middle of the order bat. Kevin Kiermaier's not. So I don't know if it's realistic to kind of replace Teoscar at this point. But you also got to remember that last year, a lot of our hitters had down seasons, and I'm expecting a huge year out of Vladdy, out of Lourdes Gurriel, whose power just disappeared last season. I don't think they're going to repeat that same level of down production. So I'm banking on just as good of a lineup in 2021 and 2023.
Yeah, it's a great point, especially with Vladdy. I mean, if we get, 2021 Vladdy, then we're making up for a lot of the production that Teo lost while also
There
improving
you go.
our outfielding defense by 100 times. Obviously, Kiermaier is one of the best defenders of our generation, if not the best defender. We have Matt Chapman there at third base still, and I don't know. It's going to be wild, and we probably will have another video coming up over the coming week or so, maybe discussing, the outfield situation. And, Kevin Kiermaier, give him props because he's been a phenomenal outfielder. And, you earn your living through defense and offense, not just offense. So keep that in mind when discussing the replacement. But we'll be seeing you guys tomorrow in tomorrow's video. That wraps up this one. Thanks.
Thanks.